What it is, what's happening? It's been a hot minute since I did a video. I have just been freaking swamped. I've been wanting to share some stuff on the channel. I just haven't had a chance. Behind me is one, and there's 20 more out here. And I'm going to show you something that I just picked up new for the channel viewing pleasure of my followers that like to look at the junk I bought. We'll go over that in a minute. But first I want to share a little bit on something that just bothers me, irritates me about jobs like this. So this is a 2017 Ram ProMaster City work van. Basically like a Ford Transit van. I don't know if you can see it. Alonso Painting Company. The motor went bad, overheated, and cooked the motor. The motor's junk. Now I'm going back together now. Now I've never put a motor in one of these little vans. So for me, since it was my first one, I took the whole front off. I got rid of the Rad Sport front bumper. It all came off so easy. I probably maybe spent 45 minutes longer than dropping it out the bottom. But my problem was these big mitts wouldn't fit in here when the radiator and the radiator support was in there. I just couldn't get in there to unhook and do stuff. So I started looking at it and I went, you know what? I'm taking the front off. I don't care what the book says. This is how I'm doing it. This is my shop. It's my name on the door. I'm just going to do it my way. And I am so glad I did, because let me tell you, fighting these upper bell housing bolts and this thermostat housing was a nightmare. That there's a vacuum pump. I took it off, but that thermostat and these transmission bolts and the upper starter bolt, this is a 2.4 four-cylinder. It's the same motor they use in Chrysler 200 and the new Dodge Darts. You know, anything from, I want to say 2012 and up. It's a really crappy motor, I'm not going to lie. It's terrible. But that's what's used in this thing, and it is what it is. So that is a nightmare to get to those top bolts. So I'm glad I did that. But what I wanted to talk about was a lot of these motors today, and almost all your late model cars today, use these, what I like to call one-time use only clips. You know, to hold wiring harnesses, to hold stuff to the engine. Mostly found on wiring harnesses. And if you can see here in the video, they look, you know. If you can get to the other side of these, you can squeeze these and pop them out. Some of them, let me see here and find some. Some of them are shaped like a Christmas tree on the other end. And some of them break when they come out. It just happens. They're plastic. You know, like this thing here, this is where the exhaust manifold hangs. So all this stuff is hidden behind. It's around heat. It's all plastic. It's like a zip tie that hooks to a Christmas tree and then pushes on, and that's it. You take them off, sometimes they break. So my pet peeve is, sometimes you'll come behind where somebody else has worked on it prior to you. They break those clips. And then they just leave them broken, hanging on the wire, out in the breeze. Just, hey, we're hanging out. We're broken, but we're just going to hang here. Take the time to cut that John off and use a regular zip tie to put it back on. Make it look like you weren't there. That's how I like to do a job. I want a job to look like I was never there. I don't want this thing to go to another repair shop and they're like, damn, Ed put a motor in that thing? It looks like crap. I want it to go to another shop and the guy goes, you paid a guy to put a motor in it? Doesn't look like it was ever touched. That's what I want. Because trust me, I've come across the guy. You know, we all know that guy. You know that the guy, I could do a motor in one of them in 2 hours. But when you look at the work for the guy that can do it in 2 hours, bolts missing, every clip is broke and still hanging on the wire, just broke. I don't worry about them. They put too many of them on there. We've all come behind that guy. And that's the guy I like to right in the throat, because he's the guy that makes it difficult for us guys that know what we're doing. And those guys irritate the hell out of me. And I've cleaned up many a jobs behind those guys. Oh, yeah, he's the fastest guy down at the Dodge dealer. Oh, yeah, but he's the sloppiest guy at the Dodge dealer. He's the guy that has everything twisted up and brackets missing and bolts missing out of brackets that are just swinging in the air. It's that guy. I'm not that guy. I want it to look like I never touched it. I want somebody to open the hood up and they're like, he put a motor in this? Doesn't look like it was ever touched. That's the kind of work I want to put out. And I try to put that out as much as I can. You know, sometimes we all have those jobs where They just fight us and we get frustrated. But I still try to go back and make it look. And sometimes we get jobs that have come from another shop that did the scab work. And we're kind of like, oh, now I got to put my name on it. And it's missing all the plastic shields and stuff are missing. And you're like, now I got my name tied to this piece of junk. But we do the best we can with those kind of jobs. And most of the time we're okay. So that's what's going on with this thing today. This is getting the motor almost done. I got to heat up and knock the studs out of the exhaust manifold. I can hang the exhaust manifold and then start buttoning the front up. But I got a job out here. I'm going to head outside. A little harmonic balancer to put on a Acura. It got towed in. But I'm going to show you guys what I picked up. And I will, in case you're wondering, I just drug that jack out here. So let me show you what I picked up. Now, I know you guys that follow my channel know I've been working on that. Crown Vic's ready to go in. It's just been time. I haven't had a chance to get really on that job. I've got some time coming off of the day job, my day job with the car lot. And I'm going to share some stuff on the channel when I'm working on that. I plan on putting the motor in the 58 Thunderbird, and I'm actually going to hang the fender and the Ragger Sport on this Ranchero in about 2 weeks, and I'll do some content on both of those cars as I can do them. But this past weekend, I picked up. Now, y'all know I love me some tow trucks. This is pretty cool. Let me spin you around, and I'll tell you about it. So what I picked up is a 1954 Dodge job-rated truck, which is about a 1-ton truck. It's dual rear wheel. It's on a 1-ton frame. But what's cool is they made it a tow truck. That's a hand crank tow truck boom on the back. Now what's kind of interesting is these things were made in the late 20s, early 30s. And what the whole purpose was is you mounted on whatever kind of truck you wanted or car. Actually, in my home office inside the house, I have my office is decorated in tow truck memorabilia. Every inch of the wall is covered with something to do with tow trucks, including these. I have some pictures where these were mounted on, where they would take a Model A and they would cut the body right behind the driver's seat, get rid of the whole rest of the car, and mount this, and then maybe make some wood sides. They make a tow truck out of it. This actual truck, which is pretty cool, this is a hand crank. You would crank it, and you just reach in and flip the cog, and you crank it back down. It actually cranks really easy to pick a car up because the crank gear ratio versus this big gear is so much different. It's actually really easy to pick a car up. But this truck came from Mercerburg, PA. Just picked it up last week. The guy told me this thing was actually used on a junkyard to tow cars to the junkyard. So this wasn't something that somebody built and was trying to make a hot rod out of. They actually used this as a tow truck, is what I was told, which is cool. And it'll fit right in with the rest of my tow truck junk that I owned. Of course, you all know, if you follow the channel, I have quite a few of them. I saw a buddy of mine actually lives out that way. He saw it on Marketplace on Facebook for sale, sent it to me. I was down the beach. We were out on the beach doing a little surf fishing, hanging out. And I opened my phone up and went, oh man, you gotta be kidding me. Well, I'm a little far away. So we go back to the house at the beach, and I'm sitting, we're having dinner, and I said something to the girlfriend. She said, are you really gonna buy it? She loves this stuff, so that's like a green light for me. I said, I don't know. So I thought about it for a couple days. I messaged the guy, we went back and forth, and then, well, long story short, I went after it. So the story I got was, it was used on a junkyard. We had to go meet the lady. She was somehow related to the guy. I want to say they said the lady we met to do the title, her husband, this was her husband's uncle's truck or something goofy like that. So the truck was, known. It probably hasn't been on. It's got a sticker on the windshield from Pennsylvania. Last time it was actually tagged was 1982. So it's probably roughly when it took a crap. But she said it was used. They used it to haul junk cars. It's got a small V8 Chevy in it now. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty hurtful. they were in the process of putting a Chevrolet in it, and then I guess from the way I was told, he passed away, and that was the end of the truck. It just sat around. Supposedly, I'm pretty sure he told me it had been inside for many years, and then when the guy I bought it from, I think he said it was only outside a couple years, and it's in really good shape. I mean, it really is for a 54. The headliner fell down on the way here. It's just cardboard, but as you can see, it's all there. It's not hateful. It's got a little bit of rust on the floor, but the worst part is they cut the firewall out. Now, I'm assuming they cut the firewall to try to fit the V8 in it, which is not the end of the world, but I mean, the door closes good. And what's interesting is I kind of believed it was inside, because if you look here, I don't know how well it's going to show up on the video, but if you look at this door jamb, where the door had been rubbing, it's still bare metal. So it's not like it's been sitting outside where that would have gotten rusty, because there's not much. This weather stripping is as hard as a rock. The door still closes good. It's not real scaly and rusty underneath. It did have a wooden bed built on here, but the guy I bought it from, he said the wood was really rotten and he took it all off. He actually had the boom off the truck, and he put some new bolts in and bolted it on, because I brought it home on a car trailer. I did not take the rollback, and I posted this on my Facebook the other day, and people asked me, how come you didn't take the rollback? Well, it was like 3 hours and 15 minutes or so from home, and well, the rollback, she would have hauled it with no problems. This thing isn't very heavy at all. But the rollback's 7.3 IDI 5-speed with a 5.13 rear, with a whole top speed of 50 to 60 mile an hour. So no, I did not take that. And the international rollback right now, we don't have no tags on her, so not going to take that far from home. So I went out with a car trailer. The guy helped me load it up on the trailer, which was awesome, and strapped it down and came home. Wasn't a bad ride. So I got it here. It's going to be, I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I'm starting to gather a few things up for it that I know I need. I'm trying to figure out what to do with these wheels. These wheels are a goofy 6-lug split rim wheel. They're about 1 million years old. A couple on the rear of the rear of the truck are a little rusty. I'm gonna assume, since it's a 1-ton truck, it's probably got some terrible gear ratio, probably worse than 410s. It might even have a 513 in it. Who knows? I have no idea. So since it's got a V8 Chevy, it has a stick shift trans in it. It looks to be a GM. Looks to be a new process, 4-speed. You know, with the granny gear. A lot of guys call them. That's what. Well, you can't see. There's a bunch of stuff popping there now, but that's what the trans looks like to be in this thing. So don't think I'm going to use that trans, since the boom is hand crank. I might just put automatic in it. I do have a turbo 350, and I do have a fresh 305 V8 Chevy. I'm probably going to use that because it is a fresh motor. It was for another project that I had around here that I ended up actually selling. So I'll probably use that small block in here. It's a 305 standard bore, but it's fresh. Head's been done, crank, blah, 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 blah. It was going to go in a little Toyota truck that I had here, but I've since sold the Toyota truck, and the motor's built and done. Why not use it? So I may use that with a turbo 350 trans and figure out what to do with these god-awful wheels. Because the problem is there's some goofy 6-lug bolt pattern. However, I do have a 65 Ford F350 over here that has that same goofy 6-lug. On that truck, there's only, I think, 3 wheels that are non-split rim. So I still need a couple more to complete a set. And they're 17-inch. These are 16s. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Since I'm not really going to use it to tow cars, a buddy of mine turned me onto a parts truck. I may purchase the parts truck, and I'll get all the stuff off the front of it to make it 5-lug, and then I'll just change the rear, put maybe put an 8.8 rear or a 9-inch Ford rear in the back with the same bolt pattern, and just put maybe steel wheels or something to change it up. Maybe put disc brakes on the front or something. I don't know, but it's kind of where I'm at with it right now because of these goofy wheels. I'm just kind of like putting stuff together in my head. But I have most of the stuff. I have a wiring harness here that was bought for another abandoned project. So I've got a nice wiring harness kit. So I'll rewire the truck. So the plan in my head right now is figure out what I'm going to do with brakes and wheels. Then that'll dictate what I'm going to do on the rear. I kind of like the dual rear wheel look. I really like to keep it, but I want a decent gear ratio so you can literally like drive this thing. I don't want it to have a 410 or something goofy. I'd like to have a nice highway gear so you can drive it. Probably gonna, I'm definitely leaning towards the automatic. Just think it'd be easier. So if you go to some car cruises, you know, and you want to drive it in a car cruise or something, and you get caught in traffic, you're not, you know, your foot getting tired from being in a clutch. I'm getting old. Plan is to leave the truck exactly how you see it. Clean it up. Leather the doors with my name. I haven't decided if I'm going to get the boom sandblasted and repaint the boom real nice and the frame rails. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided. Now I have decided that I'm not going to make a bed for it. Some of the pictures I have in the house, guys just have little sides about this high. Just flat sides, which would make sense because the bed that they actually had on this truck came out to here, which means you would have had to climb up in the bed to work the winch, or you'd have to lean over the sides. When in theory, you really just want to stand next to it to work the winch. So I think I'm going to make short sides. I'll cut this piece here off, get rid of this, because this was part of the original mount for the bed. So I'm thinking I'm going to make, I think I'm going to leave these crude. There's some brackets here that are real crude, the way they're welded and cut with a torch. I think I'm going to leave them just as crude and rough as they are, for part of the look, to make it look like it, well, it really was built a long time ago, so I want to keep that look. But I think I'm just going to run a flat piece of flat steel to about here, put a top piece on it, and then maybe just expanded sheet metal for a floor, you know, like graded sheet metal for the floor. I got a keg in the shop. I'm going to put a keg here for the gas tank. I have it. I'm going to use it. I'm going to try to use as much junk as I have laying around to put this together for as least money as possible. So that's why I don't know if I want to sandblast this or just leave it the way it is. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the truck really good. Maybe wash this thing with Scotch spray pad and some Comet. That'll get the paint to clean up a little bit. And if I wash it with a Scotch spray pad and some Comet, that'll give it something to bite to maybe put a satin clear on it or something like that. But I want to leave as much of this weathered, worn out paint as possible. I want the truck to look ratty, which it is. But I'm going to go through all the mechanicals. Like I said, fresh motor, obviously brakes and wiring. I'm going to leave it as much as I can the way you see it. I think it'll be a cool project. Kind of how I'm doing that one up there. Now, when am I getting to this project? I have no idea. None at all. I needed this project like a hole in the head. But I couldn't pass it up. I've wanted one of these booms for a long time. They're kind of hard to find. What's neat is I don't have a whole lot of money in this thing right now. It's got a good title, which is next to impossible in any more days. But tell me that thing isn't cool. It's not all bent up. It's got a small amount of rust in the bottom of the fender, which is going to stay there. There is a little bit in the front of the door on the bottom. I'm going to have to repair that because I don't want the door skin flapping. Like I said, the floor is going to need a little bit of work. But the rest of it's there. Driver's door glass is broke and the vent window is broke, but the windshield's good. The rubber around the windshield is hard as a rock, but it's not broken and cracked up. It's in pretty good shape. Like I said, this window here is broke. I mean, even the rubber around all these windows is still in good shape. It's cool how it's got the 3 windows in the back, kind of like a Chevy. And the tag even says 1982. Was the last time it was tagged. Like I said, it's a little, some of the stuff on it is crude. And I'm going to leave it that way. I think it looks cool that way. So we get this door here and get a look inside. It's just pretty neat. This door, I think, has been replaced at one time because it doesn't really line up very well here. The green paint's peeling off to reveal like a reddish primer. So I'm not really sure what's going on that side of the truck, but we're going to leave the truck the way you see it. So that's the new project that I got going on. I thought maybe some of you guys would enjoy seeing that. I just add it to the, get out of here without killing myself, add it to the other trucks. Some other interesting things going on, guys might find interesting is, got my buddy's 60 Ford pickup. Now it's in for a rear. This truck, we bought it down on the other side of DC into Virginia a couple months ago. Got it home, got it running, found out the trans was no good. It was locked up in gear. Pulled the trans, pulled apart, full of water. Kind of odd. So I shared this truck and the transmission on my Facebook page. A buddy of mine that I know chimes in and says, hey man, that used to be my truck. And I'm like, what? So we started chatting in a private message. Turns out he owned a truck about 8 or 9 years ago, sold it. He sold it at Carlisle, Pennsylvania at the car show, and it went to New York. Got caught in Hurricane Sandy and went underwater. And then the truck disappeared. He didn't know where it went. Explains the transmission full of water. We find a used trans, we put a used trans in it. Trans is working good. Neither one of us gave any thought to check the rear. None of us. Never even crossed our minds. He's driving it to DMV. He calls me on the phone. He says, hey man, can you come get it? I'm on the side of the road. He says, I don't know what's wrong with it. He said, can you come tow me? Bring the rollback. So I go out with the rollback, pick him up, and as I'm loading it on the rollback, the rear is just chattering the whole way up. What the hell's wrong with this thing? We go to unload it, it won't roll backwards. What the hell's wrong with this thing? So we get it off the truck, crawl underneath of it, pull the fill plug. I stick my finger in there, it's pure rust. What the hell? Then I remembered my buddy telling me, hey man, that thing went underwater. So the rear is no good, junk. So I bought an entire rolling frame for a 64 pickup last week. So I got rear, trans, motor, frame rails, everything, which works out really, really well because somebody lowered this truck, and whoever lowered it took all the shock mounts off the rear and took all the shock mounts off the drop. Well, they put a drop axle on it, but they never put the shock mounts on. So the truck has no shocks. It drives horrible down the road. So I just ordered all the shocks. I ordered everything I need to go through the new used rear. I'm gonna put a rear in it. They even have the wrong U-bolts. It's supposed to have square. U-bolts are supposed to go up and over the leaf springs and they're square. Somebody used U-bolts to go on the rear where they're rounded and they got them on the leaf springs. That's wrong. So I gotta fix that. Put the rear in it, and then it runs, but it runs like crap. So I gotta figure that out. So that's here for repair, which is kind of a neat truck. And that is real patina on it. This was actually that's real lettering on it. It's not something that somebody lettered and made look old. It is real lettering. The truck was painted over top of that lettering, and then they were sanding it one day, just messing around, and they found the lettering on it. So they lightly sanded the whole entire truck, and all that lettering showed up, which is really, really cool. So it's a neat old truck. It's a little rough. It's had a rough life. But my buddy that owns it, he wants to leave it just like it is and just cruise it. And I think it'll be cool. So I'm just waiting on the rest of the parts to come in so I can go through the rear, swap it out, and then get him on the road. And like I said, in about 2 weeks, this is my 58 Thunderbird. I'm gonna finally get around to putting the motor in this car. I've only been jerking around with this car for almost coming up on 2 years. Bought this car up in Hazleton, PA, brought it home, and hadn't touched it. It's a pretty cool old car. It's an original car. I am not gonna I do have the original motor. It's fully rebuilt, but I'm not gonna put it in. A couple people say, why not? Well, these old 352 FE motors, they're horrible on gas. So for right now, I'm not going to do anything that can't be undone. I'm going to put a 302 in it with an FMX 3-speed transmission. Hopefully be a little more friendly on gas so you can drive and enjoy it a little bit. We'll see. I'm thinking that it'll be a little better because those old FE big blocks were horrible on fuel. So I'm hoping that that'll help this thing out. I mean, at the end of the day, they used a 289 in those big old Galaxies and wagons and stuff like that. So I don't see why a 302 wouldn't move this big old boat around. So I've got everything here, new gas tank, all the brakes, everything. I can't think of anything else I need to buy that I don't already have here to at least get the motor in it, get it fired up, get it running on its own power, and have brakes. That is the plan for about 2 weeks to do and get this thing at least running under its own power. I don't really care if I can't drive on a road, but if I can at least get it to run and move under its own power, then all the other little stuff I can work on in between my regular work. So that's my vacation project, is that, and then the Ranchero up there. I'm going to get the brakes done. It need to go through the brakes. It's got brakes, but they're mushy. Get the fender on it, the Ragger Sport in it, so it's a complete car again. These are my 2 big projects coming up in 2 weeks to knock out. So, hope you enjoyed the channel today. If not, yeah, hey, catch me on the next one. Who knows? I got more content coming. We'll see what happens. Actually working on something instead of, all this late model stuff. I mean, I think most of the guys subscribed to my channel don't really want to see me putting a harmonic balancer on a Acura. We're finishing up a motor in a 2017 Dodge van. So look, holler at your boy, keep it reals. Yes, the Knight is back there, parked. She's done, driving it, enjoying it, loving life. Got some OBS projects coming up here in the future too. I've got a 90, that white and silver one right there. I bought that last year. It's a 96 5.0 automatic long bed truck. Runs really, really good. Trans is smoked. I got some things I want to do with it on the channel. The red one next to it I bought a month ago. It is a 95 F250 on 37s. Was told that it's got 40-some thousand miles on the motor and trans, or truck. The entire chassis is in really good shape, but all the sheet metal is trash. It's rusty. Bed's junk, cab's junk. So I'm going to rebody it. I bought a bed for it a couple weeks ago, and over here on the other side of the tow truck is this truck here. This black and silver 92 F250. It's a really, really clean. It's only a cab and front end. It's a cab and chassis. It was a fire truck. So I got a 460 in it. The red truck's got a 351. But I'm going to use that cab and front clip on the red truck, and then I bought a really clean bed, put the bed on. So I'm going to fix the red truck. Not anytime soon. I'm not in a big hurry. I mean, I'd love to work on it right now, but I'm just busy with everybody else's stuff. But that's the plan for the red one. Now the plan for the white one is, I picked up a trans for it. If I get time and I run out of parts on the Thunderbird and the Ranchero, I'm gonna wheel that around in the shop and throw the trans in it. And it's actually a tagged running truck. So I'd like to put the trans in it, get it running, take it for a ride, drive down the road. I don't understand that. What I plan to do with that truck is make that truck a short bed and make it a clone Lightning, but make it a daily. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a daily driver, because it's a really, really good running. It's a really nice and tight truck. It's just got, the bed's got some really bad rust around the wheel wells, and I've got a really nice short bed out back. So I got to thinking about it the other night. I was like, I got a set of Lightning wheels. Why don't I make that thing a clone, paint the whole truck white, make it a clone, and just drive it. The average person wouldn't know. Really, what's a Lightning? To look at it, painted grill, painted bumper, some stickers on the bed. It'll look like a Lightning. It's far from a Lightning, but just make it a clone, just to make a driver. Because I do own a Lightning, but I would never use it as a daily. Kind of like my Knight. I'm not going to use my Knight as a daily. There's not enough of them on the road anymore. There just isn't many out there. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do with that white and silver truck. And right now it's just thoughts and talk. But as you can see, plenty of projects around this place. So look, keep it reals. Catch me on the next one. Holla at your boy.